Welcome to the bright side of 50. Hey, y'all. Hey, welcome to another episode of the bright side of 50 with Carla Palmer. I want to start off by saying, excuse the lighting. So initially I had my studio set up with the lighting and all of that, but it is so darn hot here in Southern California. And if you know anything about Southern California, you know that some of the buildings, the older buildings, don't have air conditioner. So if they don't have air conditioning, then you have to either buy one of those window units or you have to buy one of those units that you can move throughout the house. I have the latter, but it is very loud. So I can't run that while I'm doing the podcast episode, which means if the lights are on and I'm doing the podcast episode, then it gets really hot. And then I start to sweat and it sucks because I don't like putting out super sweaty content. So I'm sweating right now, but you can't really see the sweat because the lights are off, but we still gonna get this done. We are not going to be trying to do everything perfectly. That is not how life works. But I want to get this message out to you guys. So we're doing it like this. Today, I want to talk about not quitting on yourself, keeping the promises that you make to yourself, and building grit and being a finisher. I want to talk about that. And I want to talk about that because I find that we get so upset when others make promises to us. Oh, I'm going to do this, or hey, I'm going to do that for you. Whatever it is, I'm going to meet you here, whatever the promise is. And then when it's broken, we get upset, right? Rightfully so. I don't like broken promises, right? I don't like that. But what I also think that we need to focus on is the promises that we make to ourselves and the promises that we often break to ourselves. A perfect example would be at the beginning of every year, a lot of people make these goals and these promises. New year, new me. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then come month 2 or 3 of the year, those promises have been marginalized. Come month 4 or 5 of the year, 6, they are nowhere to be found. They're not being worked on. None of those things are happening. So I want to talk about being a finisher. I want to talk about finishing what you start. And I think that if we do this in smaller steps, then it will be something that we can build and grow, right? We'll have more grit as we move along. And I want to use the example of when I was losing weight many years ago. 2008 is when I started my fitness journey. I lost 50 pounds in a little over a year. And I was able to keep it off until started menopausing, and I started going crazy with my eating lately. And these last year or two, it's been a little tough. But I have been able to maintain a healthy weight for the past, 15 years. Okay. We're working on these couple pounds that need to go right now. But when I started that journey, I kept promises to myself. And what I would say to my community, because I did have a community on Facebook that ended up getting hacked and I don't have that page anymore. But I would say to the community, doesn't it suck when people flake on you? So why would you flake on yourself? There's always going to be someone who doesn't show up. There is always going to be someone who doesn't keep their promise. But you know how stinky that feels. That doesn't feel great. So why would we do that to ourselves? I care about me. I think that I am freaking awesome, and I know and feel that I am worthy of being committed to. And if other people are going to flake on me because people are going to be people and things are going to come up for them, whatever, I need to make myself and what I want for myself a priority. That happened to me when I was paying off debt and trying to get out of debt, and I did it because I didn't want to flake on myself, and I felt like it was something that I deserved. And the muscle just grew as I continued to take those steps forward. So what I want to talk about today, again, is when I was on my weight loss journey, I committed to jumping rope on a regular basis. Still jump rope to this day. I would not flake on myself. If I told myself I was going to jump rope in the evening or in the morning or at lunch or at practice when my son was at basketball practice, I did it. I did that. I did not flake on myself. And I finished the task that I set out to do. The other thing that I did was I met this guy at my son's school. My son was in elementary school at the time. And I met this guy, and he was a coach, like a running coach. And we met in the office one morning, and I was telling him about, I don't know how we started chatting, but it was so long ago. But I was telling him about, my fitness journey. And he said, you should run a 5K. I didn't really know what a 5K was because I wasn't a runner. Now, I did do some, track and field when I was in high school, but I don't know. I just wasn't thinking like, what is a 5K? So I was like, oh, I'm not really a runner. And he said, you should try it. I can show you how to breathe and like go out and meet with you in the mornings. Like, I would be happy to do that. This guy, he did it for free. His name was Russell Shimarizov, and he was amazing. So we did that, and I ended up running my first 5K. And it was such an exhilarating feeling. I felt so confident. I felt so proud of myself. I felt worthy of the work that it took for me to get to that point where I could run 3.1 miles. And as I was training and staying committed to what I had signed up to do, I was getting closer and closer to being able to run the entire 3 miles. And once I did, my coach said to me, Russell, he said, you're going to be inspiring other people one day. He spoke that to me. You're going to be leading some sort of fitness movement. He spoke that to me. He saw that. And for him, there was something that he saw in me that I didn't yet see in myself. But he said, you're going to be somebody that inspires others and motivates others. And people are going to, want to be a part of your community or whatever it is that you're doing. Hence the GYSB movement. So for those of you who don't know, I do have a health and fitness movement. So the Bright Side of 50, which is my podcast, is an extension of the GYSB movement. GYSB stands for Get Your Sexy Back, because I got my sexy back over the decade and a half ago. I got my sexy back. I'm still sweating. But I got my sexy back, and I started this movement to inspire others to move their bodies and to not flake on themselves and to put themselves as number one, the number one priority in everything, right? And that is what allowed me to be a better mom, to be a better employee, because I am an employee, to be a better friend, like all of the things that just started to trickle over into other areas of my life. Hey, sis. Hey, I just wanted to take a moment to ask you, have you subscribed to the Bright Side of 50 with Carla Palmer? If you have not, could you please take a moment, if you like the podcast, take a moment now to hit the subscribe button so that you become a subscriber. Turn on your notifications so that you're notified when a new episode drops, okay? Also, follow me on Instagram. I am the Bright Side of 50 over there on Instagram too. Thank you so much. Now I'll let you get back to the episode. But I ran my first 5K. I want to show you my first medal. This is my first 5K medal. I did it at the Rose Bowl here in Pasadena. And I was so excited. And my son was at the finish line with Russell and Russell's daughter. And it was amazing. After that, I got hooked. I got so hooked on doing races. And the reason I got hooked on doing races is because when you do a race, when you sign up for a race and you sign up, a month or two ahead, then you have something that you're working towards. You have a goal that you're working towards. And when you finish the race, when the day comes and you do the race, you finish and you get a medal, a finisher's medal. You're finishing something that you started. And you have this month or these 2 months to work up towards that thing that you're going to finish and you're going to be rewarded for. So I want you guys to get that in your mind. If you need some help with staying committed and staying the course, then signing up for races is a really good way to start. It's a really good way to start. It's a really good way to keep you focused on what it is that you said you were going to do. Because what you don't want to do is get out there at race time and kill yourself because you didn't train. So when you're doing the 5K, there's an app, there's all these programs you can do, Couch to 5K. Yeah, there's one that's called the Couch to 5K. And it gives you these training modules that you do and you work up until the day that you do your race, right? And it teaches you how to eat and it teaches you how many miles to run a week and how do you do the different days. I think it adds in some cross training. I didn't necessarily do that one, because I had Russell who was helping me, but I've heard that this one is really great. Couch to 5K. Look it up. So once I did that 5K, I craved it. I did another 5K, and then I did a 10K, and then I did a few 10Ks, and then I did a 12K, and then I did a half marathon. And that was the goal. That was the peak for me because I have no desire to run a marathon. Like, kudos to people who run marathons. Shout out to you. You're amazing. You have got exactly what it takes to get out there and do that. I get bored. I get a little bored when I'm running. So 13.1, I get a little bored and it starts to hurt. Okay. I'm not into the pain of running. And I'm also not a really good runner. I'm a very slow runner. But I'm out there and I'm doing it and I'm finishing and I'm feeling amazing in so many different ways, spiritually, mentally, physically. I'm feeling amazing. And it is a goal that I've worked towards, that I've accomplished, and I get my finisher's medal. So what I want to show you guys is, this is what I've done. All these races, Spartan races, 10Ks, 5Ks, half marathons. The Malibu half marathon is my absolute favorite. I do it every year, although I'm not going to do it this year. But I've done it, I think 3 or 4 times, maybe 5. I think I've done it 3. Wait, 1, 2, I think 4 times. But anyway, it's somewhere in here. All these medals. I finished something that many times. All these medals. If you're on audio, I want you to hear the medals. I'm not showing those to show off. I'm showing those to show that I started off, could not run a mile. Then I could do a 5K. Then I could do a 10K. And then I could do a half marathon, or a 12K. Then a half marathon. And in between there, I was also doing a couple of Spartan races. I don't know if you've done a Spartan or a mud run or something like that, but it's an obstacle course. And it really tests you mentally and physically. It puts you through the ringer, literally. Barbed wire, climbing over walls, doing all kinds of like heavy lifting. There's a lot going on there. And the first one that I did it with this girl that I met on this app called Periscope. She was, I had never met her in person, but her name was Jasmine, and we call it scoping. She was scoping one day and she was talking about how she'd signed up for a Spartan race. And I was like, oh, she was a huge Spartan person. And I was like, ooh, I should do it too. I was sort of kidding. And she challenged me and she said, come do it with me. She lived in Seattle, I believe, and I was here in LA, but the race that she was doing was in Temecula, which is wine country. I believe it was in Temecula. It was somewhere way out there. And I actually signed up and I actually did this race with this stranger. I mean, she wasn't a stranger because we had known each other from the app for a year or two. But I did this race with her. We met up. We had breakfast. Like, we did this thing together. And it was so dope. It was so dope. And I said to myself, wow, Carla, you're a G, because you did that darn thing. And it was hard. And that particular race was a storm that day. So I did my first Spartan race in a storm. But I felt like a gangster. I ain't even lying. I felt like a gangster. I was like, dang, girl, you did that. And Jasmine was really proud of me. And, you know, I climbed the rope. You had to climb up a rope. Like, you had to do all these things. And it was muddy. And I was just so excited to be dirty and in the trenches doing this thing and building my grit. And I was so proud of myself. I'm sorry for the sweat. Sorry. But I was so proud of myself. I finished something. I said I was going to do it with Jasmine. I trained and we finished together and we got medals, and it was a great experience. So I want to end this by asking you, what is it that you need to commit to build grit, to build a finisher mindset? You don't want to flake on yourself in any area of your life. If you say you want something, I want you to go for it. And I want you to eliminate the distractions, because there are always going to be distractions that keep us from finishing. Each day, each part of the day, there's going to be a distraction. For me, that freaking distraction is social media. I need to get off of that darn app. And it's usually Instagram, if I'm going to be honest. I know a lot of people are addicted to TikTok, but I'm on all of them. Social media platforms. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. I'm on IG, I'm on Facebook, like all of them. And so if you think about managing all of those different platforms, posting content and looking through content and getting DMs and all of that, that's a huge distraction that could take you off of your course of what you say you were going to finish. I have a quote here by this, that book that I love, Believing Bigger by Marshawn Evans Daniels. It's that journal that I did 100 days of. And so there's the question that, here's the thing that she said. She said, the assassins after our goals and dreams are distractions, and they delay us, and they also bring about self-doubt. And the other distraction, or the other thief of or assassin of our goals and dreams, is perfectionism. So all of those things are assassins of our goals and our dreams. Distractions with the social media and all of that. Maybe not even social media. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's TV, whatever your distraction is. And then self-doubt, not believing in yourself. And then perfectionism. Like today, when I started this podcast, what did I say? I said the lighting is not going to be on because I'm sweating, and you don't need to see all of that sweat, and I'm hot, and I want to be comfortable doing this podcast, but I still showed up for you and for me, because this is my podcast, and I said I was going to finish this episode today, and I'm finishing this episode today. But the lighting it sucks, but you can hear me, you can see me enough. We're fine. It's not perfect, and that's okay. And I think that you're okay with that, because you're here to get the message. You're not here to see me. You know what I look like. You see me with the lighting on. Today, this is what it is. It's not perfect, but I did it, and I'm finishing this. Okay. So I'm practicing what I preach today. The question for you, and this is the question for Marshawn's book. This is not a question that I came up with. I like to give credit where credit is due whenever I can. The question is, what small or big step can you make towards a goal or a desire today? Could it be something that you do for 10 minutes? Could it be something that you do for 2 hours? Like, what is it? So my challenge for you is to look at your goals daily and do one thing, even if it's a little thing that moves you closer to your goal. One thing. Okay? One thing. There's a book called The One Thing or something like that. I have it. I forgot the full name of it, but One Thing, or the other book that I have is Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits, One Thing. Those are, God, is that really the name of that book? Anyway, you'll figure it out. Maybe I'll put it in the show notes. But those two books are absolutely amazing, and they will get you to where you need to go. They will have you finishing tasks. They will have you feeling good about the movement that you're making. Because you're focused. Okay. So check out those books, and also get the 100 Days of Believing Bigger journal. It's amazing. I am using this word so much. It is a very good book. Let's say very good book. Everything is not amazing. We have just used that word and overused that word. Everything's not amazing, but the book really is amazing. I just realized that I was overusing that word in this episode. So anyway, again, not perfect, and I'm not going to edit it out. But I'm really sweating, and I'm going to go. Gosh, I'm sweating. But thank you for being here. And I will see you. I will see you on the next episode of The Bright Side of 50 with Carla Palmer. Hey, don't leave yet. Put in the comments. Put it down in the comments what you are working on, what goals you're working on. And let me know, because I'm curious to see what you're working on. And I want you to tell me in the comments below that you are going to finish what you're working on. You're going to finish it. Okay. I got to go, because I got to go get in the shower. I got to go get in the shower. It is so hot. I will talk to you guys next week. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.